Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to RJ's for today's edition of Lunch with head coach Monty Coleman. Last week, the Golden Lions took on Southern University and dropped a 49-17 decision at A.W. Mumford Stadium in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. This week, the Golden Lions will take on the G-Men of Grambling State University at Grambling, Louisiana at Eddie Robinson Stadium in a 2 o'clock start. At this time, we ask the players, would they introduce themselves to the audience? Mr. Adams?
Good evening. My name is David Adams. I'm from Pine Bluff, Arkansas, and I'm a senior.
Good evening. I'm Terry Montgomery from Rolling Fork, Mississippi. I'm a running back, and I'm a junior at the university.
All right. Well, Mr. Adams, can you tell us a little bit about last week's game against Southern University?
Last week game against Southern, we had a lot of penalties. We need to cut down on that. I feel like we could just do a better job more on offense of just running the ball and passing and protecting Brandon more and just capitalize on turnovers.
All right, Mr. Montgomery.
Well, I figured we started off pretty bad on offense. First off, coming out with a penalty the first play. So that set us behind the chains with a 1st and 15. So I feel like we also need to cut down on the penalties, and we'll be good because we have the talent to play with anybody.
All right, Mr. Montgomery, have you watched any film this week on Grambling State?
Actually, sir, I watched a lot of film. Actually, I'm the leader on the leaderboard with the most points for watching film. So, of course, I always get the film in. And I was watching it last night just to see what they was coming out with, and I see they're going to come out with a lot of blitzes. So we got to prepare for that and pick that up. And I feel like we better have a good game.
All right, Mr. Adams, what have you seen on Grambling State?
What I've seen on Grambling is like Montgomery was mentioning that they like to blitz a lot of sellout, a lot of soft blitz, and like to run a 3-front, radar, and stack front.
All right, now we'll have opening comments from the top dog himself, head coach Monty Coleman.
Thank you, Ronnie. Thank you again, Ms. Nikki, for hosting us here at RJ's. It's always a pleasure to come and have our press conference. Tough game for us. A game that I thought we could go in and do some good things, which we did do some good things in this past week against Southern, but they made all the plays. Unfortunately for us, we didn't make the plays. Like both guys have alluded to, we kind of shot ourselves in the foot another week with the number of penalties that we had. We had over 80-something yards in penalties just the first half alone. We settled down a little bit in the second half and didn't have quite as many, but penalties have been kind of like our Achilles heel throughout the season, and they are affecting us as a football team, the productivity of the football team. We do stress in practice to be penalty-free. It's hard, but guys are working, trying not to commit the penalties, but for whatever reason in the game time, we are committing those penalties. We are getting ready for Grambling this week. It was Southern's homecoming. Now we've got Grambling's homecoming. We know it's going to be a hostile crowd there in Grambling, Louisiana, Ruston, Louisiana. And we're preparing the rest of this week to travel on Friday to go down to play Grambling and try to get our second win of the season.
All right, what film have you seen on Grambling, Coach?
I've watched we'll break down their last 3 games, and I had the coach to go back and pull out one more game. But we've seen them against Prairie View, we've seen them against Mississippi Valley, and I forget the last game, but we've seen all 3 of those games. Grambling is going to throw the football. That's what Coach Dooley and Coach Spady, that's what they're going to do. They're going to throw the football. So, that's what we've got to do defensively is stop their pass. They will run. They've got a great running back. Their quarterback is a D1 throwback. He can run the football extremely well. Defensively, what I've seen, they are going to blitz, just like Montgomery said. They're gonna keep you off balance by blitzing. You're not going to know which one's going to be coming. They're going to run a 3-man front, a 3-man stack, and they're going to blitz you almost every play. So they're saying to you is this is what we're going to do. They're not going to change regardless of what we do. They will give up plays on defense with the understanding that they have enough confidence in their offense that they feel like the offense can outscore other teams. So they will give up plays, but with the understanding that their offense is very potent.
All right, at this time, we open up for questions from the media. Mr. Brown?
O.C. Brown, Palmville Commercial. All right, first of all, Coach, you guys are penalized 14 times for 102 yards, like all of you have said. That's not acceptable. Was that more of the crowd being a factor with it being their homecoming, or is it just still some of the simple mistakes you guys are not?
Just simple mistakes. Guys trying to do a little too much. Like Mr. Montgomery alluded to, the very first play of the game, we get a procedure call. The defense go out in another series and stop their offense. It's 4th and 5. We line up in the neutral zone, give them a first down. So it's just the guys just trying to do just a little too much. We didn't have any flagrant fouls where you're hitting or you're, anything like that. But it's penalties, and anytime you set yourself back 100 and some yards, regardless of what they are, they hurt. So it's something that we've emphasized in practice. Guys do get punished in practice for committing fouls. It's just that we've got to just slow down just a little bit and pay a little more attention to detail so we can eliminate a lot of the penalties. Now, if you look at the sacks, previous games we've given up 6, 7 sacks. We only gave up 3 this particular ball game. So we are, through emphasis in practice, we are cutting back on certain things, being a young football team, and one of the things we've got to cut back on still will be the penalties.
Okay. Now, Mr. Montgomery, the running back duties are mostly taken up by committee. Could you talk, you guys have did a little better job in the past couple games. Could you talk about the running backs group as a whole and what you guys have to do to get better production rate?
The running backs as a group, I love the group that we have. We're a very talented group. And as you could tell, we play several different running backs, and I feel like that's because we're all talented and we all can get the job done. So I like the way it's open right now because that drives our competition and brings out the spirit at practice. So we get out there every week, and the coaches allow us to do that, and that's what makes us get better every week. So as we continue to do that, and David Adams and the line continue to block for us, we're gonna run the ball, and we're gonna get it going.
Let me say something to that, OC.
Yes, sir.
Human nature, when you've got as many guys as talented as they are in one position, you could have guys actually pouting because they're not getting the carries that they feel like they should. These guys have a closeness, knitness as a running back group, and they pull for each other. So, that's good teamwork, and that's what we need across the board, to have that common teamwork that regardless of who's on the field, I'm going to pull for them, and then when my time comes, I know they're going to pull for me, and I can go out and give my very best.
Yeah, I had to say one.
Okay.
On that, as the running back group, we always say, don't count your reps, make your reps count. So every time we go out there, we're trying to get the best out of every play, because every play is a scoring opportunity.
Okay. Now, Coach, last week you alluded to Alabama A&M. It's probably been the best team that you guys have faced up to that point. Could you talk about Southern and what they brought to the table as far as their quarterback? I think he was 22 for 28, 292 yards and 3 touchdowns. And Tillery, the running back, went over 100. Could you talk about Southern and what they brought?
Southern's a very good football team. I think, up to date, I would still have to say that, well, I would change it. Southern, up to date, has been the best football team. But neither of the teams that we've played is going to be equal to what Grambling can do. Grambling is very explosive, have the ability of putting lots of points on the board. They can give up points defensively, but because of the number of points they put up offensively, it really hadn't been a factor. But right now, I think just watching them on film, Grambling will be the best team that we'll face this year. SWAC team, and it's going to be a hard contest for us this week, but it's one that can be done. The guys are still positive. The guys are still practicing hard, have a positive attitude, so anything can happen. If I can take a slogan from the NFL, any given Sunday, another team can beat somebody. So all it takes is a couple of mistakes on Grambling part and a couple of big plays on our part, and we could definitely see ourselves like we do going in and winning this football game.
Okay. Like you said, Coach, Grambling's a tough team. They're 5-0 in SWAC play, still have an unblemished SWAC record. Could you just talk about the atmosphere in the locker room at this point with you guys, as far as you said, like you said, you guys not quitting, and could you just allude a little bit on that?
I mean, everybody's disappointed. We didn't foresee this season going the way it went. We have sustained some injuries, but overall, the attitude is great. We had a good week of practice last week. And if you look at from a human nature standpoint, from a mental standpoint, it would be very easy for these guys to shut it down and say, we don't have anything to play for. The thing that I've been expressing to them since the very beginning of this season is we've got pride to play for. We've got UAPB to play for, all of our fans, our friends, and our family. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to salvage this year, and we're taking it one game at a time. I don't see quit. Last week I asked them, I said in our team meeting after we lost to A&M, said, if you want to quit, stand up. And this was in our group team meeting. And I asked whoever wants to quit to stand up. And I didn't have any guy stand up. And with that, we went out and we had a real good week of practice. It's the same this week. I expect these guys to understand where we are, what we're fighting for, and continue to fight throughout the rest of this season, one game at a time.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions for Coach? Coach, one last thing. What are the keys to victory for this week against Grambling?
You know, Ronnie, I mean, you ask me that question every week, and I don't mean that sarcastically. I mean my answer is not going to change. It's going to be the same. We've got to start fast. In order to beat Grambling, we've got to make sure that we start fast. And the other thing is we've got to play for 4 quarters, 60 minutes. We call it finishing. And the guys will attest that that's what, you know, we talk about before the game. We've got to start fast. We've got to finish. One other thing that I'll add to it is we've got to eliminate the penalties that we're getting. Way, way too many penalties. We're setting ourselves back even before we get off the bus. We're 100 yards down week in and week out. So we've got to eliminate the penalties and continue to play hard. I don't think any of the guys are going to be big-eyed because it's Grambling. I feel like if we go out and we play hard, we can make a good contest out of this and win this football game. So start fast, finish, and eliminate penalties.
Okay, Coach. Talk about the play of Willie Young this year. He's close to setting school record.
I wasn't aware and not aware of that. You know, the thing with this team, it's not anything that Willie is boasting about, if he's even aware of it. No. He's a team player. And, you know, I'm very proud. I knew, or we know, that Willie has that type of ability. He's shown that in previous years. So if he gets that record, more power to him. But right now, I think if Willie was here and we asked him the question, would he rather have the school record or a winning season, I think he would say the winning season.
All right. Well, let's give Miss Nikki and RJ's a round of applause for hosting us today. Just a reminder, next home soccer match for your UAPB soccer team. Excuse me. Also, your Lady Lions soccer team will be in action this weekend with UAPB taking on Grambling State on Friday, October 28th, and a 3 p.m. start at Pomfrey Stadium. And also, next home match for your Lady Lions volleyball team will be on Saturday, November 5th, with UAPB taking on Grambling State in a 7:30 p.m. start. So come on out and root your Lady Lions volleyball team and soccer team on to victory. Once again, want to thank you for coming and having lunch with us. Until we meet again, keep those emails and tweets coming in. And have a wonderful Golden Lion Day.